morning, everyone. I've got a question for you. What is the craziest dream you've ever had? And another question. Do you always know what your dream means? Well, in today's story, we're going to hear about some very interesting dreams. We'll hear more of Joseph's story and how God used him in exciting ways to save the nation of Egypt. There were many people in Joseph's life who wanted to cause him harm, or either by killing him or putting him in prison. But God never left Joseph, and God used what people planned for evil for good. So let's hear the next story about Joseph. I hope you all have a lovely week, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye.
Jesus said in John chapter 6 verse 37, Jesus said in John chapter 6 verse 37, I will never, 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 never turn anyone away. I will never turn away anyone who comes to me. I will never turn away anyone who comes to me. I will never, 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 never turn anyone away.
Well, good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Glyn.
Here we are in the vicarage garden
We are in
today.
the vicarage
It's
garden
nice
today.
to see
Quite
that,
nice
just a
and sunny
change.
today.
It is, sun's shining and we're ready for our craft.
We
And this
are.
is the last one, is it?
No, we've got one more.
One more after this. So what are we going to make
So
this week?
we are going to make this.
What exactly is it?
It is a Pharaoh's collar.
A Pharaoh's collar. Excellent.
It goes round, it won't go round. It does go round, but
It goes around your neck.
Yeah, look,
If
see?
you it does work. Yeah.
See?
It's
And
like a bib, really,
It's
isn't
a
it?
bit like a bib, yes.
Looks like somebody's been eating buttons.
But yeah.
And they've gone all over their
They
bib.
have.
Well, it looks fantastic.
Right.
So, how do we make it?
So what you need is a paper plate.
Yeah.
An old trusty paper plate, and something round.
Something round. So you're using the bottom of a disinfectant.
I am because I couldn't find
yeah.
anything
Okay.
that was.
But it's just something round,
Yeah.
about the size of your neck.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And
And then you need to cut down
yeah.
to there. Well, I might move that bit.
So you're going to cut. So otherwise, if you just cut it straight down, it'll just fall straight off,
Yeah.
won't it? So you've got to cut it.
Out. And then you cut the circle out like this. Again, being very careful with the scissors.
Yeah.
Like
And it wouldn't need to be a white plate.
it doesn't need to be a
It could be
white
a
plate.
decorated plate, couldn't it?
Could
One
be
of
a
those.
decorated plate.
Yeah.
So that would be much nicer. Right. So then you've got that,
Okay.
and then what you need to do is you need to decorate it.
So how are you going to do
I'm
that?
going to use some crayons.
All right. Paint would work.
Paint would
Okay.
work.
Sometimes they've got like a plastic coating on them,
They
haven't
have.
they? So
Yeah. Oh,
it's-
yeah. So sometimes the plates might already be
Yeah.
coloured in. So
or acrylic paint would work,
Yeah.
I guess, wouldn't it? You're doing a good job there. That's very fast wax crayoning.
that's why I'm using wax crayons, because you can take your time. Felt tips might be better, so you don't have to.
Okay.
And then I just use. It doesn't. You don't have to. I'm just doing it quickly. Obviously, when
Yes.
they do it in Sunday
You can
school.
take a bit more time over
Yeah.
it. Looking good. Ish.
You said that, and then it went wrong.
Yeah.
Don't say that. Right.
Okay.
And obviously you can put some more colour, like what I did there, I coloured in this bit, if you wanted to.
Yep. I'll show them on there.
See?
Okay. So you're just like colouring different coloured bands. Just I suppose it would be gold and all kinds of things.
Yeah, it would
wouldn't
be gold, yeah. because it belongs to a pharaoh who has lots of money.
Yeah. And what's this all about? Why
Well,
are we doing this?
So Joseph, we heard last week that Joseph was in prison.
Yeah.
And he interpreted the baker and the cupbearer's dreams.
Yes.
Well, Pharaoh then has some dreams,
Right.
and his wise men can't interpret them.
Okay.
And so eventually the cupbearer remembers about Joseph in prison,
Right.
and they call him, and he interprets Pharaoh's dreams.
Okay. Now you've just slathered
I've
that
just slathered glue on there.
all over the place.
Yeah.
You could, if you were really neat, you could just put the glue on the back of the buttons and
Yeah,
things.
but they get stuck to your fingers.
Okay.
I tried that
now,
earlier.
if you haven't got buttons, what?
These are sequins.
Oh, sequins. I'm sorry.
So you could use buttons, as you
Yeah.
said, or you could use stickers,
Yeah.
or you could just colour it in, or glitter.
Oh,
But
glitter would be
glitter
good.
gets everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And I suppose if you're thinking really creatively, you might be able to spray some bits of pasta
You
with
could.
gold
Oh, that's an
spray
idea. I
or
hadn't
something
thought
like
about
that and
that.
stick those on it, or something like that.
And then you just need to fill it
Just
in.
keep on going,
Yeah.
and your fingers are all sticky now. You're going to need those disinfectant wipes
I
after
will.
all, aren't you?
I will.
That's brilliant.
I'm just going to randomly do it. The other one
Yeah.
I did it actually in rows.
Well, you could spend as much time as you need to getting
Yeah.
it really nice, couldn't you?
You could.
Making it look
But otherwise-
expensive, and so I suppose towards the end of the story, it wouldn't only be Pharaoh wearing one of these,
No, it
would it?
wouldn't. It would be
but we
Joseph.
won't. Well, don't tell them the
I
end.
won't tell them the end.
Might be somebody else in the story who gets to wear a collar
might
like
do.
this. Somebody else who becomes a very important person.
in. Yeah.
in-
So you
in
just
it.
need to fill that all
That's
in.
fantastic. I can see where that's going. And should we do a quick sort of swap for
Yeah,
the
we'll do a
finished
swap
one?
one.
Shoo!
And that's how you finish.
Perfect.
There you go,
That's
finished.
amazing. Absolutely brilliant. Mary, that's absolutely superb.
No
So we're
problem
going
at
to
all.
remember that that the Pharaoh remembered Joseph in prison. No,
No,
the
the
cupbearer
cupbearer remembered
and,
Joseph in prison.
Pharaoh had dreams, and the only person who could interpret them was
was
Joseph.
Joseph.
And Joseph was going to become a very important person
He
himself.
was.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget, when you've finished it, you can send the pictures in and we'll do something with those. Make sure that, that they're seen. Thank you so much. Have a really good week.
Good week, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, my name's Tim, and I'm one of the church wardens at St John's. Maybe you've seen me in Sunday school as well. And if you're in Sunday school today, I'm probably standing behind you. Hi there. Now, what are we going to learn today? Question for you. Have you ever had a dream that came true? I remember having a dream when I was at school. It wasn't a very nice dream. I was sat at a desk in school and I was doing a test. But I didn't know any of the answers to the questions I was being asked. And when I looked down, I realised I'd forgotten to put my trousers on in the morning. I didn't have any trousers on. It was really embarrassing and a little bit freaky. I was really hoping that dream didn't come true. And you know what? It didn't. Well, at least the bit about not having any trousers. There were some tests that I did at school where I didn't know the answers, but that's okay. So, what are we going to learn about today? The last couple of weeks, I heard you've been learning about Joseph. And the last we heard about Joseph was that Joseph had been put in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Wow, that must have been really hard. He must have suffered a lot. But we heard that during prison, while he was in prison, he met Pharaoh's cupbearer and Pharaoh's baker. They were in prison with him. And they had two dreams that Joseph interpreted correctly. Later on, those two went before Pharaoh, and the cupbearer was restored to his role. Hey, he was really happy. That's what Joseph had predicted as well. And the baker was killed, was put to death. And Joseph had interpreted his dream correctly as well. He'd said both of those things would come to pass. And they did. Not because Joseph was anything really special or had any special ability. It's just God revealed what those dreams meant to Joseph, and Joseph gave God the credit. Sounds like a smart thing to do, but still, he's suffering in prison. So that's what you heard last week. What about this week? Well, we're going to need some help. Remember this fellow? This is Peter the panda. Hi Peter, how you doing? He's excited. So what are we going to learn about this week? Whoa, that sounds even better. Wait a minute. Wouldn't you have thought that the cupbearer, having been so happy that Joseph had interpreted his dream correctly, that he would be restored to his job and not killed, he would have told Pharaoh, hey, there's this guy in prison, guy called Joseph, he's a Hebrew, and he told me I had a dream and he correctly interpreted that it would come true. And it did. Should we get him up here? But no, the cupbearer didn't say that. He totally forgot about Joseph. For 2 years. That's 730 days. Oh my goodness. Joseph was in prison again for a further 730 days of suffering. Wow, that's a lot of suffering. But you know what? Joseph never forgot that God was with him. And he also knew that God had a plan. Even though he didn't know exactly what that plan was, he knew God had a plan for him, and he trusted God. That's really smart. I have to admit, when things get difficult for me, I sometimes forget that God is with me and has a plan for me. I think I should be a bit more like Joseph. Anyway, what happened? After those 2 years, Pharaoh has 2 dreams. And these are really weird dreams. The first dream, what was the first dream about, Peter? That sounds so weird. The first dream, Pharaoh was looking at the River Nile. The River Nile runs through Egypt. And out of the River Nile comes 7 fat cows. And they start grazing, eating the grass just by the river. And then 7 really thin and skinny cows come out of the river afterwards and then eat the fat cows. It's so ridiculous. But you know, the weirdest thing is that those skinny, thin cows didn't get any fatter when they ate the fat cows. That's bizarre. And Pharaoh thought that was weird too, and he woke up. But then he fell back to sleep, and he had the second dream. And this one was even weirder. What happened in the second dream? Really weird. Pharaoh dreamt that there were 7 fat, juicy ears of corn. Delicious to eat. And then he looked again, and there were 7 thin, skinny, and all brown and disgusting ears of corn. And then those ears of corn ate the juicy, fat ears of corn, but didn't get any fatter. That's so weird. Do you have any idea what that meant? No, nor me. Do you have any idea what those dreams meant? Pretty sure you don't. And no one else in Egypt knew either. Pharaoh asked all his wise counselors what it meant, and no one could tell him. And just at that moment, the cupbearer goes, "Oh my goodness, Pharaoh, there's a guy back in prison. He interpreted a dream for me. His name's Joseph. He's a Hebrew. He interpreted my dream correctly, that I would be restored to my job as your cupbearer. Maybe he can help us. Why don't we try it out?" So Pharaoh said, "Bring him up here. That's a good plan. But maybe he should have a bit of a shave and a shower, because he's probably a bit stinky." So they agreed to do that. Joseph came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh told him the dream and said, "Can you interpret it?" And do you know what? Joseph said, "No, I can't." What? But then he said, but God can. Whew. So then Joseph proceeded to tell Pharaoh what his dream meant. And he said, actually, those two dreams are one dream. They mean the same thing. The 7 fat cows and the 7 juicy fat ears of corn represent 7 years of plentiful food that's going to happen. And then the thin cows and the thin ears of corn represent 7 years of no food, famine, that will follow the 7 years of plentiful food. Okay. And so he interpreted Pharaoh's dream. That's right, isn't it, Peter? Yes, it is. I think I've got that right. Pharaoh then goes, well, what on earth are we going to do? That's terrible. And Joseph says, well, all you've got to do is find a really wise guy, okay, who you trust, and then he should be in charge of taking 1/5 of all the food produced during the good times, the 7 good years, set it aside so that he can sell it to the Egyptians and all the surrounding nations during the following 7 years of no food, of famine. And then Egypt and the surrounding nations will be saved. That's all you've got to do. Okay, Pharaoh, who are you going to choose? Pharaoh goes, duh! Who's the one who's just interpreted the dreams that no one else in my kingdom can interpret? It's you, Joseph. You're the one who's the wise guy who I can trust. So Pharaoh puts Joseph in charge of taking all 1/5 of all the food produced during the 7 good years and then selling it to everyone in Egypt and the surrounding nations in the 7 years of famine in order to save Egypt. And Pharaoh also gave Joseph a royal robe. He gave him a signet ring. He gave him jewelry. He gave him a chariot to ride around him. And he gave him a wife. That's amazing. But remember, Joseph always gave God credit for interpreting the dreams. He didn't take credit for himself. That was something he learned in prison through all that suffering, that God is in control and he has a plan for Joseph's life. And what a plan that was. That was an amazing plan. God is always with us during our suffering, and God has a plan. We've got to remember that. Next week, you're going to hear a little bit more about Joseph, the kind of final installment of Joseph's story, about how he helps some people he knows very well. Have a good time. See ya.
Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Here's the love of Jesus Christ. And we pray that you will know his love. And we pray that you will grow in love. And we pray that you will be filled up with the fullness of God. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Is the love of